What up, gang? Welcome to the channel. I'm back with another video. Listen, I know that some of you guys, if not all of you guys, if you've been in these YouTube streets, you've been seeing videos where people are just tired of working a 9 to 5. I know I have. I see it on YouTube. I see it on TikTok, Instagram, Reels. It's everywhere. To me, it's trending, right? A lot of people are just fed up with working a 9 to 5, at least from what I can see. I don't know. It's different. It's different. And you can argue and say, a lot of people are wising up and they just feel like this whole working every day, 5 days a week, spending, 8 hours a day at work, sometimes 12 or more, and coming back home is just a little bit redundant. And a lot of people are just fed up with it, right? They don't want to work. They're being called lazy for not wanting to work. And people are just being very vocal about it, right? Just criticizing the whole system in terms of the 9 to 5 traditional way of thinking that we've kind of been accustomed to. So I came across this video, man, and I want to talk about it today because there was a comment on this particular clip that came from a truck driver. So it kind of aligns with the trucking content. So I figured I share his comment with you guys, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. I thought he kind of made a good point on some of the things he had to say. So we're going to get into it, man. Let's go ahead and get to this video real quick. We're going to go ahead and chop it up. You see what this caption says: the sad reality of 99% of people who work 9 to 5. Let's hear what this guy has to say.
We were told to go to school, get good grades, get a good education, right? I did that. At one point, I'm sitting at my job. I'm like, man, they lied to me. I'm like, this is supposed to be the American dream? Working 60, 70-hour work weeks. By the way, my wife is doing the same thing. And, every Sunday night I'm seeing this look on her face because as the sun begins to set, her face begins to drop. Because what?
Monday's getting closer.
Monday's getting closer, man. I got to go to work Monday morning.
I think a lot of people would agree with him, right? A lot of people that work jobs and have to go to work, if we're being honest, a lot of people don't want to go to work. Of course, it'd be great to just sit at home and not have to worry about any type of financial obligations, right? That'd be nice. Or being an entrepreneur, making a lot of good money, good revenue, being at home, not trading time for money. That's also nice, right? If you're able to sustain that type of lifestyle. Entrepreneurship is not easy. Not saying that you can't do it or it's impossible, because again, if you want to become an entrepreneur and not be in the rat race, I definitely say you should go for it and do it. I'm definitely an advocate for entrepreneurship. I always say that. But there's something else I want to get to, but I'll get to it a little bit later because I don't want to waste too much time. I want to get to this comment. So let me go back to this clip. So shout out to Street Ivy. He says, my job started feeling like I was property of the company on a plantation. I started digging a hole under the plantation gate that no one knew about. By the way, he's speaking figuratively, not in a literal sense. So I think that's kind of obvious, but I just wanted to point that out. He says, I let go of anything I didn't need to survive and save 75% of my income for 2 years. He was stacking it up. Finally, the day came for me to crawl through that escape hole. I started my own trucking company and I feel like a freed slave. Never again will I work on another man's plantation. All right, let me read this comment somebody responded to him, or this question somebody asked him, excuse me. Somebody said, "How is the company going?" or "How's the company coming along?" He replies and says, "Trucking isn't doing the best right now across the board. I'm pretty sure you know that. But working for yourself, your pay per hour increases dramatically because you only move when there is money to be made. Otherwise, you're at home. I tell people all the time, although truckers might think they're making good money, when you consider the hours in the truck, driving or not, divided by what you're bringing home on a weekly basis, a Walmart employee makes more per hour. If I'm out 3 weeks as a driver, it doesn't matter if I'm only driving 11 hours a day or if I take a 34-hour reset once a week, I'm still at work away from home. 9 to 5 employees don't punch out at 5 and then go sleep in the lobby until their shift starts the next day. They go home. Truckers don't. So if a truck is bringing home, excuse me. So if a truck is bringing home $2,000 a week over the road, you have to divide that by 7 times 24 equals 168. So 168 hours. That's 7 days, 24 hours a day, which comes out to $11.90 per hour he or she is making. The guy at the bottom of the totem pole, the trucker, is the hardest worker and the least paid out of everyone in the industry. If you're going to do it, might as well do it for yourself or become roadkill. All right, guys. So he said a lot. I'm assuming that based on his comment, he was an OTR driver before he, started his own company. And the reason why I say that is because he used an example based on an over-the-road driver. And it seems like the point that he's trying to make is basically being away from home, right? To me, he kind of was stressing the fact that you're away from home in that truck, when you do the math and break it down, you're basically, like you said, if you're going 3 weeks at a time, when you do the math, I mean, you're not at home. So what, you're making as much as a Walmart associate at that point. And then he stated that at least a Walmart associate, they're able to clock out and go home. Even if, you get done driving, right, you're still basically in the truck. And that's the point that he was trying to make. And so I agree, when you do the math and you break it down, he's right. He's right. If that's what you're making, based on that $2,000 a week example he gave, if you're basing it solely on just being away from home, yeah. But that doesn't apply to local truck drivers. It really doesn't apply to regional truck drivers either. So, he used the word truckers in the example, but the example doesn't apply to all truck drivers. You got some guys that are making $2,000 a week and they home every night. So what's the argument for that? Now, I know the whole thing was like the original clip was basically talking about how 99% of the way people feel who have jobs, right? The whole point was that most or the majority of people who work basically don't like working a 9 to 5. They don't like being at work. And that's how he felt, which is why he ended up starting his own company. And shout out to him, man. Kudos to him for starting his own company. That's major. Hopefully, he's doing his thing, and everything is on the up and up. I know he stated that trucking was kind of bad all the way around. Now that comment was like 6 months ago, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of still in a similar situation with him. But if he's doing better now than he was 6 months ago, that's great. But not much has changed in the trucking industry over the last 6 months, at least from my vantage point. But I think that the example he gave specifically around over the road drivers, I think he does have a valid point. But I just don't. Well, I'm not gonna say I don't think. I know it doesn't apply to all truck drivers. That's my only pushback, right? That doesn't apply to all truck drivers. Because again, if you're just looking at it from the point of being away from home, you got guys that are home every day or every night. So, and that's the thing. And that's what I hear when truck drivers, and this is, nothing against this person who made the comment, but I mean, when I hear a lot of truck drivers talk about trucking in general, they put everybody in the same category. They put all truckers in the same category. And I just don't think you can put everybody in the same bucket, because certain things just don't apply to everybody. So you kind of got to separate it based on the point that you're trying to make. Like, you can't just say all truckers, because it's different depending on what you're doing in trucking. But back to the whole job thing, and not working a 9 to 5 or not wanting to work a 9 to 5. Listen, I can't sit up here and speak for anybody else. And I think people identify working a 9 to 5 with any job that you have to go work for someone, right? If you're a W-2 employee, I think people consider whatever you're doing as a 9 to 5, even if you're not technically working, 9 to 5, right? I think from what I hear, when people talk about 9 to 5s, you don't necessarily have to work a 9 to 5 shift or 8 hours or whatever the case may be. If you work for somebody else, that's identified as a 9 to 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. Trucking is definitely not a quote unquote 9 to 5. Most truck drivers, I would say, work more than 8 hours, 9 hours, or whatever the case may be. But that's beside the point. What I was gonna say is, I can't speak for everybody when it comes to their job or working a 9 to 5, right? You also had some people in there in that comment section that said they love their 9 to 5, right? So that's another thing. It's like, not everybody hates their 9 to 5. You got some people that actually enjoy what they do. Like, I know a veterinarian here in town that loves animals. So, they love the work that they do. Also, I'll just say this, man, when it comes to working a 9 to 5 or working a job as a W-2 employee, if you have aspirations on becoming an entrepreneur, use your 9 to 5 or whatever W-2 job that you have to help fund that idea that you have, so you can start the process of becoming an entrepreneur slowly but surely. Like this guy said, right? This truck driver said he saved 75% of his income for 2 years. That's pretty good. So he was very intentional about getting out of the rat race. And that's what you got to do. And that takes discipline. That takes delayed gratification. in order to be able to do that. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you definitely have to be intentional about it. You have to be, strategic. You have to have a plan in place, and you have to know where you're going or where you want to go. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people. They really don't know where they want to go. They have no sense of direction. So if the plan is to get out of the rat race, then you got to figure out how to navigate through that. If you have a job, I personally don't think it's smart to quit your job without having a backup or without at least having some reserves in the bank to hold you over. But that's just my opinion. You do what you want to do. I'm not here to cast judgment on anybody. And I'm definitely not here to discourage anybody from pursuing their dreams. But just be smart. Be smart about your moves. Quitting a job without having another job lined up in this economy, I just don't know if that's a smart thing to do, particularly if you don't have a safety net. I don't know, man. I personally don't think having a 9-to-5 is a bad thing. There's a lot of good that comes with having a 9-to-5. I know we're living in a day and time where a 9-to-5 is kind of looked down on these days for some reason. If you're smart, use your job as long as you have to do what you have to do. If your plan is to get out of the rat race, use your 9-to-5. Be smart about how you spend your money so you can get out of it. I'm not telling you have to be content with working a 9-to-5. You don't have to be complacent. But I can tell you nothing is going to change unless you change. And that's just the bottom line. You can say how much you hate something, but if you're not doing anything about it, if you're not taking action or learning a new skill or learning whatever it is that you want to do outside of that 9-to-5, nothing's going to change. So I don't know, man. Y'all let me know what you think about this video. Drop it in the comments. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Look, until the next video, I'll see y'all on the next one, man. Y'all take care. Peace.